Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on face proportions. So to start off, I have drawn up a little sketch of what face proportions look like when you are straight on looking at them from the front. It's important to learn proportions first off in the most easily accessible way, which I realize is a fairly mundane statement, but once you turn a face a little bit, or it's tilted some, or we have just a slightly different angle, it changes all the proportions just slightly. So the easiest way to learn first off is when they're all even with each other and there's like a very mathematical way to split them up. So from the front we have a face, and what we have here is you can build it starting from very simple shapes and just like cutting it into sections. As you can see, there's a circle here that I've drawn, like this circle here that goes around like this. And then there's these lines that go across here. Just deepen them so you can see them. And they're just splitting up the face into the sections where each of the features are going to land. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of walk you through this. I'm going to actually put this over here in the corner so we have it as a little reference in case we need it. Then I'm just going to walk you through this, and you can get like a piece of paper and a pencil out and do it with me if you want to, or you can just follow along. So first off, let me get, you're going to want to do just a circle. And circles I know are pretty hard because it's really easy to make one side bigger or have like a lumpy bit, but the important thing about circles is they don't have to be perfect, and you can always adjust them if you don't like them. I usually, instead of putting all the stress on like doing a perfect circle like this and just like have one line where it's like, oh well, I don't really like that bit there and it's like kind of wiggly over here. What I do is I really lightly just go around in a circle a couple of times like this, and then you can get kind of like, see, this is too far in here and this is too far out, but then you can get kind of an idea of where you want the line to go. So I'm actually going to erase this bit here and just kind of, you know, do this kind of a thing. So there you go, now you got a basic circle. From there, then we're just going to do a line straight down the middle of it from top to bottom. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, it does help if it's in the middle as close as you can get though. So you've got your line there, and then you're going to do the same thing, cutting it directly in half from left to right, like that. So this line here, this up and down line is just going to help us mark where the very center of the face is. This line here is actually going to be the hairline. So that is this line on our little sketch. And then from there, cutting this into half. So you're going to do a quarter of the circle. It's just going to go straight across like that. And this is going to be, actually I'm going to move it just a little bit higher. There we go. That is where the eyes are going to land. And I know looking at it right now, looks like, okay, well that's not at all like a face because it's way too short. That's where you are going to measure whatever this part is, this half of the circle here. You're going to, you can take your pencil and measure it, you can lay it against your piece of paper and actually measure it if you want to, or you can just kind of guess, and you're going to put another line down here, and that's where the chin is going to go. So then this is a little bit of the tricky part because it's a little bit freehand. You're going to follow the edge of your circle kind of like this and then come off of it, and this is going to be where the cheek is, and then the jawline is going to come down and meet where your chin is at. Same thing on the other side. You're going to follow around edge of your circle, the cheek, and then your jawline. I guess I should have pointed this out too. Your jawline is going to be about halfway between this line and this line here. Just a little bit lower sometimes. This is also very depending on what kind of face shape you're drawing. It can be higher or lower, or if you're doing like a more cartoony face, or you want it to be like a little kid or something, you can have it be like very pointed chin like this, and have it come down a little different. So the jawline is really going to define what kind of face you have that you're going for. Just deepen these lines a little bit. And then from there you have the whole outline of your face. So this top is going to be the top part of the head here, and comes down. You have the cheeks on either side and your jawline and your chin going across. So then from there, the bottom of the circle right here, this line, draw a line across this, that is going to be where the nose lands. There. And then halfway between your nose and your chin, and right about even where your jawline is hitting, maybe a little bit lower or higher depending on just the type of face it is. So right about here, that's where the lips are going to be. So now that we have all of our little lines in there, it's time to add some actual features. The tricky part about features are they are all complicated and different. So for today, I'm just going to do like a basic drawing, kind of like we did over here in the first sketch that I did, just to give you an idea of where they're supposed to go and what they look like when you put them in. First off, it really doesn't matter where you start. I think for a lot of artists, they kind of find a spot that they like starting and work from there. I always find it really helpful to actually establish where the eyebrows are first, because that's going to be like the brow line is pretty defined, and then I can work on the nose and then put the eyes where I want to in the middle of that. So what I usually do is, if this is the hairline here, and this is where the eyes are going to go, and this goes through the middle of the eyes here, then we are going to want the eyebrows to be somewhere in the middle here. So let's just do something like this and just get kind of a basic eyebrow shape. And like everything else, eyebrows come in all shapes and sizes, and one of the wisest things I ever heard was actually in a makeup tutorial on how to define your eyebrows correctly, I guess. I don't know if there's like a definite correct way, but and I wish I remember who said it, but she said that eyebrows are sisters, not twins, and that is the most helpful thing that I've ever heard and encouraging in my drawing, because I can never get the eyebrows to look exactly the same, but nobody's eyebrows look exactly the same. So there's the eyebrows. Then from there, your brow line, if you want to, you can draw it straight off the eyebrows here, and then it comes down into a nose, like this. And then the bottom of your nose is going to land down here somewhere. And we're not making it look perfect here, but I'm just going to take this up just a little bit, because I need the nose to actually have a little bit of shape here. There we go. So there we go, just a basic kind of nose-ish shape. And then from there, I'm actually going to do the lips next, since I'm already down here. And lips are tricky, but the easiest way to do it is to draw actually the middle line first, so not the top or bottom of either of the lips, but the middle line where they connect. There's lots of different ways to do it, but let's just do a little smiling face here. And then we'll just add a little bit of a defining line there, just to get an idea. And then the eyes, really depends on what kind of eyes you want to do, but I'm just going to sketch some in here. And I'm going to do tutorials later on specific features and different ways to draw them and what to pay attention to. So don't stress out too much. Ooh, that eye is too far over. Don't stress out too much if you're not exactly sure how to draw them. a rule of thumb for placing the eyes is this is the width of this eye, and so you should have that much width and then the other eye next to it. So they should be fairly evenly spaced apart from each other. Let's see, right like that. Like this. So this one should be right about there. Still might be just a little bit off, but that's okay. And then let's just draw iris, pupil, just so it looks like a human being is in there. There we go, okay. And then the hairline, I actually think that this hairline is too low. And I don't know if that's because my circle is a little bit long or like a little bit of a misshapen to begin with, but just judging from where I'm at now, if I started the hair right here, there would be no forehead, right? So that's another important thing when you're drawing is don't get tied to the format that you have placed here, because if there's something that you don't like and just looks wrong, you can just change it. So what I'm thinking is the hairline actually needs to be up there somewhere. And a good way to just get a basic idea of the hair is just to draw like where the edge of the roots are, like this. And people have different shaped hairlines, so you can do like one of the pointed ones or whatever you want. Something like that. And then the last thing that we need is the ears and the neck. So ears actually go from the top of the eye to the bottom of the nose is where you're going to place it. So top of the ear goes here, comes down, and then meets the nose, something like that. And then same thing on the other side, coming down something like this. There we go. And then the neck, let's actually have a little bit more space there. The neck is going to line up actually with the ears, and your ears here, let me change it to different colors so we can kind of see. The ears are actually, where they're drawn here, they go behind the jaw, and the jaw sticks out in front. So, and if you can just feel on your own ear, it follows down, and it's right behind your jawline and then follows down into your neck. So this ear is behind this jaw, and the neck is actually connected to it right here, coming down. So that's where you're going to want the neck to come down at. It's generally, if you don't want to draw all of this inside line to kind of get an idea, it's generally just, so here's the jawline, it's usually just inside the jawline. So, like right here, coming down. And that also changes too. People have thicker necks and thinner ones, so you can move it around. So if we didn't want it to be quite that wide, we could do it, you know, like this. Especially in like a more Disney kind of style, they usually have very drastically accentuated features depending on the type of character they are. So if you have like a very princessy type character, then it's gonna have a thinner neck, or if you have like a bandit or a highwayman or something, it's gonna be thicker, and it'll tell you something about the character based on how you draw those different kinds of features. And then from there, the shoulders we won't worry about too much right now, but they come down at a actually a slope like this. It's not a 90-degree angle. You actually have a muscle there that connects from your shoulder to your neck. So something like that. So then you have your basic features. And I realize it looks really messy, but if you start off drawing really light and then build up from there, then you can get a more defined look, or you can go back through with a pen on top and just kind of keep the lines that you want to keep. This is really great for like an exercise of trying to understand proportions and learn them. The interesting thing is once you learn this, you get faster at it. I hardly ever start with actually drawing from this whole base and working on it step by step like that. I actually, let me show you what I do. How I usually draw is something, I will draw my basic circle here, and then I will get an idea of which direction I want it to face. So let's say that we have it face on, then I'll do something like this, and I'll draw the eye line here, and then I'm like, okay, where do I want the jaw? And I will just kind of play around with it, get something going like this. And instead of drawing like all of the marker lines, you learn to see things and figure out how tall you want stuff. And then from there, I would probably do the eyebrows next here. So I would just draw like this. Just kind of guess where these are supposed to go and kind of fiddle around and change it as I need to. There we go. And to remember too that when you're sketching something, it doesn't have to be perfect. And if you get caught up in it being perfect, it's gonna tighten you up, and like literally you won't be able to draw as well because it's gonna be harder to, you're just gonna get frustrated and it won't flow as easily. So just kind of keep loose, use big gestures with your arm. See, I have it, it's actually at kind of like a downward angle like this, so it is going to change the proportions a little bit from what we just did, but just slightly. And then I just draw the eyes in here where I want them. And I have a little bit more of a cartoony style that I'm currently doing with most of my artwork, so it's not as perfect a proportions as like a realistic painting would be. Just add these in here so you get kind of a little bit of an idea where they're looking. And then, so here's a basic thing about what I've just done here is, because it's at a downward angle just a little bit, all of the proportions are a little bit smushed on this lower half. So you'll notice that the nose and the lips are pretty tight together, and then from here to the chin, it's very tight. And that's because we're coming from a more upward angle. And then from there, the other thing is the ears are then going to be a little bit higher because of the angle. Let's just do go something like this, and then get the hairline in where we want it to go, like this. And then from there, just adding like basic hair. Don't be afraid to make it a little bit poofy and have some volume. This is a fun little interesting character. And hair doesn't usually sit super flat, so you can feel free to have it stand up and fall in front of their face and kind of flow around like this. There we go. So that's how I go about actually drawing my faces. So once you get used to the proportions and what's supposed to change when and where it's supposed to go if there's different angles, then it gets way faster and way easier to work on. But the important thing is actually learning those proportions to begin with, because if you start off by trying to do something with a different angle and you don't understand how that changes things, it's going to be frustrating and you won't be able to figure out exactly what's going wrong because you don't have that basis to work off of. So, that being said, I hope that helps a little bit with basic proportions and maybe some clarity into what the heck is going on with faces. I will see you guys next time. I'm going to make some more videos, like I said, more specific stuff. Let me know if you had success with your drawings and if you have any questions. And I will see you around next time.